Hey guys, and welcome to a very special episode of the Miskatonic AV Club, a Mythos Busters production. I'm Sean, and joining me today is Scott.
Good day.
And it's very special because we're diving into the Mystic cards from the Path to Carcosa expansion from Arkham Horror, the card game. So let's hop right in.
Sean,
Starting out,
on a scale of tentacle to elder sign, how excited are you?
somehow when I grotesque statute, I pulled two Elder Signs. I don't know how it happened, but that's where we're at.
So you're cheating. Okay, gotcha.
So my girl Akachi, let's start out with her, yeah?
Yeah.
So Akachi Onyele, the shaman, or shaman, if you prefer to say it incorrectly, is our mystic investigator. She has 5 willpower, 2 intellect, 3 combat, 3 agility. She's sorcerer traded, though I have thought that maybe sorceress would be a little bit more appropriate for the sorcerers we have so far. It's Agnes and Akachi, right?
Well, it depends if sorcerer is just a neutral, gender neutral term.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, okay. Well, we won't. That's a loaded topic.
Yes, it is.
Your assets with uses charges enter play with 1 additional charge on them, and her Elder Sign effect is +1. Add a charge to an asset you control with uses charges, and then she has 6 health, 8 sanity, 30 deck size. She can take 0 to 5 mystic cards, 0 to 5 neutral cards, 0 to 4 cards with uses charges, and then occult cards level 0. Then, of course, you've got to include Spirit Speaker, Angered Spirits, and a random basic weakness. So
I'm going to give you my opinion, and you are going to probably disagree with me.
Go on.
But I want to hear why you disagree with me. So I think with Akachi and Jim, I think that they are both investigators that their mystical power is just making everything slightly better. As in, like, Jim kind of levels out the chaos bag, and Akashi gives you an additional charge on, like, say you're shriveling. And it's not so much that they have a unique power, it's just they make, like, if you're playing on standard, it's like standard -1. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And
yeah,
I think they're okay. Counterpoint.
So, I don't disagree with what you say, but I think that maybe you're undervaluing how good it is to make better those key mystic cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe setting Jim aside for a second, because I agree that his has a similar thing. Akachi has that 5 willpower that you want to see in a mystic. Like, she's really going to beg you to lean hard into that, hey, I replace everything with willpower type mystic deck. Whereas Jim, you're going to include spells, but he can kind of function as a normal investigator even without them in most cases. That said, when you're leaning into that willpower, having additional uses for those key cards, I suppose your Rite of Seeking and your Shriveling would be the chief among them, so you can actually do things. That's really valuable. And we haven't gotten to her signature card yet, but in conjunction with her signature card, she can just have spells everlasting, just spells for days. You never, as a mystic, have to worry about running out. The only thing you have to worry about is finding them to begin with. And that rounds out a huge part of what would otherwise be a weak point, a chink in the mystic's armor.
Fair enough. I think it's also worthwhile pointing out, too, that she has 1 above average on the stat total.
Yes.
Which is always nice. And I think that
it's clearly because of the staff.
Yeah,
she
clearly
can just brain someone with the staff.
Yeah. She was supposed to have 2 combat, and they gave her 3. But I think it kind of
cords hurt. They're filled with lead.
It kind of fits with her power, where like we both said, it just makes everything a little bit better, and she's just slightly better. I wish her intellect was a bit higher, but she also has. I mean, Mystic has tons of ways to get clues. So
yeah, if I were to design my ideal Akachi here, I would have swapped the intellect and combat, because yeah, that definitely would have been a little bit more useful on the regular. But hey, it is what it is.
So let's look at her signature asset. It's Spirit Seeker, Envoy of the Alusi. Hope I'm saying that right. 2 cost. There's a willpower pip, an intellect pip, and a wild pip. It is ritual traded. It's Akachi deck only. Fast action, exhaust Spirit Seeker. Choose an asset you control with uses charges. Either return that asset to your hand or move all charges from that asset to your resource pool as resources and discard that asset. This is
Akachi's ability.
Yep. Once you find this card, Akachi gets a lot better. Not that she was bad, but
yeah, there's not a whole lot moving with her ability before this hits the table. But once it does, then all of a sudden you can think of things like, hey, shriveling. Maybe I include, or not shriveling, scrying. Maybe I include scrying in my deck, and I never actually work to use it. I just ditch it for its charges for resources here, or now there are other ways to use charges later on in the cycle, like Torrent of Power. Like you can plan to use cards in a different way with kind of the abilities that Akachi has available to her. Charges, they become an interesting resource to spend.
Not to mention too, I think, there's been tons of times where I'm playing as a Mystic or a deck that can take Mystic cards, and I put down one shriveling and I don't find the other, and I run out of charges on my shriveling, and that was my main offensive action.
Brother.
To be able to just pick it up and then replay it, like that is, oh my goodness, that is such a powerful ability.
It kind of, yeah, this is kind of an aside, but it kind of makes me sad that the default rule of the game isn't that you start the game with the signature card in hand. Like, I feel like if the game had been designed with that in mind, investigators would play a little bit more consistently. But rather than redesigning the game, I will just echo that this is what you play Akachi for. Like, she's good on her own and she gets extra use out of things you're already going to be doing. This is when she really turns on.
All that talk of redesigning the game, Sean, do you have some sort of angered spirit within you regarding the game design?
Nicely done. Yeah, so angered spirits would be Akachi's signature weakness. It's a treachery. It's a task. Revelation, put angered spirits into play in your threat area. Free action, exhaust a spell asset and move 1 charge from that asset to angered spirits. Enforced, when the game ends, if angered spirits has fewer than 4 charges on it, you suffer 1 physical trauma. So I'll say of this one what I say of every task weakness that we've gotten thus far. You get this early game, it's very manageable. You get it late game, it can be a little bit more dicey. And this one's actually similar to Roland, I will say, in that the trauma picks on your weaker stat.
It does. Though I will argue that I think this one's a bit easier than Roland's because you're just exhausting a spell asset. If you have multiple spell assets out, you could possibly get rid of this in 2 turns. Whereas Roland's weakness is it 3 clues?
It is 3.
So you have to take 3 successful investigation tests where there is a clue. Whereas this, it's fast actions. You don't have to test anything. Yes, it's using charges, but you're just exhausting, and basically you're taking a spell asset that would normally have, like shriveling 4 charges. Now it has 5 because of Akachi. Now this is just setting you back to normal, essentially. So I don't find this one too bad, and the fact that she has 6 health, it's a bit low. But yeah.
I will say it's definitely I think it's kind of right where I want the task weaknesses to be, where it makes you play around it. It's definitely a consideration. Like once it hits the board, you've got to make plans, but it's not crippling.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
all right.
Would you transmute these cards from card to audio? I don't know.
Alchemically, I'll do it.
Okay.
All right, so our next card is Alchemical Transmutation. Is a level 0 mystic asset. 1 cost. It has a willpower icon. It is a spell. and uses 3 charges, 4 if you're playing it with Akachi. Action, exhaust L, chemical transmutation, and spend 1 charge. Test willpower 1. For each point you succeed by, gain a resource to a maximum of 3. And if a bad stuff token is revealed during this test, take a damage. Lastly, it takes up an arcane slot. I don't like this card.
I really want to.
Yes. Yes. So we're going to talk about the efficiency and risk of it in a quick second, but just the very fact that it takes up an arcane slot means a card has to be really damn good in order for you to consider it in Mystics, because, I just don't think there are any Mystics who can really operate well without Shriveling and or Rite of Seeking, depending on what they're trying to do. And we have very limited ways of getting extra arcane slots at this point.
Yeah, and the ways that we do are not great either.
No.
Yeah, I feel like this would have been a really good event. A zero-cost event, test willpower. You know what, honestly, test willpower 0, whatever you score. Well, that might be too powerful. But I think an event
still capped at 3.
Yeah.
But the thing is, okay, so I just don't like tying my economy to the whims of the Chaos Bag. Like, as a Mystic, I'm evincing myself to the fact that I can't operate at full capacity until I draw the right cards and play the right cards. So there's already a level of risk and swinginess there with my own deck spitting the right cards out at me at the right time.
Yeah.
If the encounter deck then also decides, hey, before you find that Shriveling, I'm going to load you up with enemies. Haha, have fun. Like, if I'm anything other than already winning, this card is never going to hit the table.
Yeah. Great idea. I love the theme of it. Bad card.
It's balanced like 2 steps too far to be playable. Now that said, you could in Akachi play this for 1, and then once you get Spirit Speaker out, just swap it for 4 resources. That's a thing.
Or you could play any other spell card, like Scrying, which I think would beat this, right? Like,
you drive a hard point, Scott.
I really put a knife in the back of Alchemical Transmutation. Turns out that knife is Spirit of Thame. It's our 3-cost level 1 asset for Mystic. It's an item, relic, weapon, and melee traded. It has a combat pip and a fast action during a skill test on a spell card like Alchemical Transmutation. Exhaust Spirit of Thame, but not like that. Yeah, exhaust Spirit of Thame. You get +2 skill value for this test. Also, action. Exhaust Spirit of Thame, fight. You get +2 combat for this test, or for this attack, sorry. And it takes up a hand slot. I really like Spirit of Thame in certain decks.
Agree.
I think
what decks would those be, Scott?
Mystic ones.
Helpful.
Yeah.
Hey, Safina likes this card.
Yes, very much so. I think basically any...
But let no one tell you otherwise. Safina is a Mystic Investigator. She just wears green.
Oh, yeah. Totally. I think being able to exhaust Spirit of Thame to get an Unexpected Courage on any spell is fantastic. There's tons of spell cards that are also events, so it doesn't even have to be all your assets. And the ability, one of the things we've always talked about is every investigator should be able to handle rats, right?
Yep, or an odd acolyte.
Right, and just a 1 health, just deal with a small enemy, so Mark or whoever your killer is doesn't have to come over and save your butt. The fact that Spirit of Thame does that in a hand slot while also helping your arcane slot cards is fantastic.
Or any random events you happen to be playing that are spells. Yeah, I think you play this for the spell boost, and then occasionally that +2 combat comes in handy.
Yeah.
But a repeatable Unexpected Courage on your spells is not a bad way to go.
Do you play 2 of these?
I think if in most investigators where I'm bothering to take 1, I would bother to take 2.
Yeah. Would you put 2 out in play?
Probably no. The only thing I can think of is if I'm afraid of Crypt Chill or something stealing a more important asset, or I want to make sure I keep 1 out, then I might pop a second one down. But chances are, even in a Mystic, in most Mystics, I've got something else that's hitting that other hand slot.
Fair enough.
You?
I think near the end of the game, like if we're okay, it's boss monster time, and I've got a shriveling out, and I want to make sure these hit. Being able to give +2 twice, like on 2 different actions. But I think I agree with you. Like early to mid game, 1 is enough. You probably have other things you want to spend resources on, or have in hand slots and stuff like that. But end game, I can see too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, would you want to sneak onto the other card there, Sean, through some portal or
Let me
astral
open a
gateway?
window into another time.
Yeah.
So, Astral Travel is our level 0 Mystic event. It's 3 cost. It has a willpower and agility icon. It is spell traded, so you could use Atham. Oh, no, wait, there's no skill test here. Move. Move to any revealed location and reveal a random token from the Chaos Bag. If you reveal a bad stuff symbol, you must discard an item or ally asset you control, and if you cannot, you take 1 damage. Extra dimensional travel had its risks, he knew. But who could resist the frontiers beyond space and time?
So
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
So basically a bad elusive. Next card.
No, okay, so if you can take elusive, you do.
Yes.
If you don't have access to elusive, I found a one-of copy of this can be money in the right situation.
Yes. I mean, I think we have to talk about elusive because it's like
It exists.
it's pretty much the closest card to it, right? I think the big thing is this is not fast, and you will get an attack of opportunity.
And you'll drag the enemy with you if you're engaged.
Yes, and it also costs 1 more. But it also says move to any revealed location, which elusive is any empty revealed location. So this one has a bit more flexibility on where you can move. The downside of taking the token can be quite heavy.
This would be one potential reason to play down that second Athame.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right, though. 1 of is the right number. And you use it near the end of the game where you have to, like, get out of dodge.
Yep. Or I've had this actually as a cheeky splash in Zoe because in 3 or 4 player, she can be helping out the Clover. Someone else gets into trouble. She can just hop straight over to that location and start bashing enemies. Mm-hmm. Now, it's a little bit more corner case, and I actually probably wouldn't recommend it. There are more efficient ways to kind of get the same effect, but yeah.
Yeah,
it's a decent little card. It's a little spendy for what it does, but yeah, I'm at a solid 1 of in most Mystic decks.
Yeah, and I also like that it's spell traded, obviously, because it's themey and stuff. But oh goodness, I always forget the name of this card. The little girl that helps you find spells from the core set, Acolyte in Training.
The Arcane Initiate.
Arcane Initiate, thank you.
Life is Pain Girl.
Yeah. This is a utility card, someone would call it a tech card, that can also be found with the Initiate. And I think if you are running the Initiate, which I think a lot of Mystics still are, depending on the spell saturation, this allows you to just put another one in there. It gives you a better percentage chance of actually hitting something with her action each turn, or her fast action. Yeah.
And if you've been daring and have bothered to play down Agnes's signature, this will draw you a card.
There you go.
Checkmate.
Checkmate, Matt. Broke the game. All right, it's time.
All right, let's break out of our normal flow here.
Soul box.
See what I did there?
Yeah. Uncage the Soul. It's our Mystic 0 cost, level 0 event. It's got 2 willpower pips. It's spirit traded and says play a spell or ritual card from your hand, reducing its resource cost by 3. The power seized her, made her shudder and spasm. Its energy united with hers, and then she opened her eyes.
Sounds like Friday night.
She was a wraith of some sort. Or Galadriel. One or the other.
In place of a Dark Lord, you would have a queen! So this card's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I have some caveats to it, but I want you to gush over it first.
Sure. So you don't play this card if you don't have a lot of spells in your deck, number one.
Mhm.
If you do, this is basically like an emergency cache that you didn't have to play.
Mhm.
And then what's really nice about this is that the icons kind of play straight into that deck type as well. If you've got all your spells out and then you draw this late game, you're probably not going to be sad to have a couple extra willpower icons to throw to fuel said spells. Now, I'm sure the number one caveat that Scott will agree with is that this is not a, what is it, fight, parlay, evade, or resign action. So if you're engaged with an enemy and you want to throw down your shriveling in a hurry, you got to take the attack of opportunity first. So that's a thing.
Which, I mean, you would have to if you had to put down your shriveling anyways.
Yeah.
I think because it doesn't have fast on it, I feel like I might have liked it better if it said fast, the next spell or ritual card you play this turn, maybe, reduces cost by 3. I do totally agree, though, that I think this is Emergency Cache 3 and 4, and I would almost argue it's Emergency Cache 2 and 3, because it's so good at what Mystic does, and because it has willpower pips. So it saves you the action of playing the cache, which you said, which then, if you're playing a 2-cost spell, it might be okay. I know you're not getting the full discount, but you also save that action of quiching. And it has the willpower pips. Like, drawing into your caches late game when you are flush with cache, and
it's a bit of a bummer.
You need pips. You're just like anything, just a pip, and it's like, oh, this. Yeah, and I mean, it's the pips that Mystic wants the most because everything revolves around willpower. Yeah.
I was actually just going through Arkham DB to look at what ritual cards we have so far. I know that list is a lot more thin.
Yeah, don't look up spells. You'll be here forever. What do we have for rituals?
We have Recall the Future.
Okay.
Protective Incantation.
Okay.
Sacrifice, which is already a 0-cost card, so non-bow. And then Spirit Speaker. So if you're playing this in Akachi, you can play out her signature.
Yeah, for free.
With Unquiche.
I think Unquiche goes really well in Akachi because you know she's going to be playing a bunch of spells because of her charges thing. Yeah, and I say Unquiche the Soul, I think it might be Emergency Cache 2 and 3 because I think you actually cut a cache, and I've seen a lot of decks actually cut both of them and just throw in Uncage the Soul. And I can't completely disagree. I like having one in, but I can also see the draw of running no caches and just going with Uncage the Soul.
Well, anytime you're bursting economy in Mystic anyway, chances are it's to drop a Shriveling or a Rite of Seeking, right? So you might as well. Yeah, I totally get the argument.
Yeah.
Tis a good card. Tis a good card.
Indeed. Way better than Alchemical Transmutation.
It's just so sad that they came out at the same time and they're kind of trying a similar thing, and just Uncage is so much better.
Yeah. Would you ever use Uncage to play an Alchemical Transmutation? Sorry, I can't even say it.
Only to unlock the achievement. I want to platinum this bitch.
All right. Favorite card?
If we're, I feel like we have to leave out the Investigator because I do love me some Akachi. I'm between Uncage and the Athame. Gun to my head, I'd probably have to go Uncage just because I do play so many spell heavy Mystic builds.
You know, I feel the exact same way, and gun or Spirit Sword to my head. I'd have to go with Uncage the Soul just because I am that economy guy who, you know, I love crunching numbers, and Uncage the Soul crunches the right numbers for me.
I mean, other cards are fun, but at the end of the day, you have to have a way to pay for them. So even if you're not a huge fan of, you know, card draw and resource gaining abilities, you still got to have them.
No. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for the Carcosa Mystic card reviews. I believe we'll be right back with our neutral